Well, we are getting ready to haul tally-ho out of the water for the season tomorrow. I was originally scheduled for Wednesday, and the weather looks pretty crappy on Wednesday, so I decided to see what I could get done today. Talked to the marina. They could do it tomorrow at 11. And so I decided to go ahead and do it tomorrow at 11. But that means a lot of work today. I had two primary jobs to get done today. And if you notice, tally-ho looks a little different. She has no sails on her. So I took the jib off on Friday last week because it was a nice calm day and it was a good day to get the sail off. Today, I took the mainsail off, the Mac pack, and all that stuff. And then, the very first thing I did was I hiked up the mast all the way up there using the main halyard as a climbing rope. I had a harness, a chest harness, and a bosun's chair, all hooked up to two ascenders, one of them for my feet and one of them for my seat. And you kind of inchworm your way up the mast, 6 inches at a time. You stand up in the foot loops and it takes the weight off the seat ascender and you slide it up a bit. Then you sit down and you raise your feet up, bend your knees and raise your feet up, and slide that ascender up, and then repeat the process many times till you're to the very top of the mast. The main reason for going up there was to take my wind instrument down. They're somewhat fragile. Mine happens to be wireless, so it's got a little solar panel in it, and there's really no reason to leave it up all winter long, exposed to a ton of UV and then rain and ice and sleet and snow and birds and God knows what. So that was the very first thing I did this morning. I also took a spare halyard up there with me. I wanted to see if I could rig a second halyard, but the sheave up there looks to be broken. So came back down without doing that. The next big job, or one of the big jobs to do today, was to drain the water tank. So on tally-ho, we actually have two. One's over here on the port side. The other one is supposed to be over here on the starboard side, but I took it out. So it's 30-gallon tank. I just run the faucet until it drains it out. I stuck a shop vac in there to see if there was anything left. It's all clean, or dry, I should say. One of the more problematic jobs is getting the water heater empty. So what that entails on tally-ho is climbing down in that hole down there. Water heater's way in the back there. Took an air compressor, blowgun with me, and essentially what I do is I take a through hull hose off so I can run the water heater drain hose out of the boat through that hole. It's above the water line, just barely, but it's above the static water line, so I don't flood the boat when I take that through hull hose off. And then I take the air compressor and I blow air into the T&P valve on the water heater. So that pressurizes it with air and essentially just blows all the water out of the tank much faster than if you just let it drip out, which would take too long, and I don't want to leave that scupper drain hose off too long. So it's a lot of boat yoga to get down in there and get that done. But it's finished now. I had a fair amount of water in the bilge. My air conditioner's been running for a few days, so I sucked out the bilge. My shop vac's pretty full of water. And then in the engine compartment bay back here, this strainer is for the toilet. So there's a seacock here that's closed right now, and the water goes through the strainer into the toilet. Part of my winterization project will be to take these hose clamps off, put a bucket of antifreeze here and pump it from here through the toilet. You really have to go through the toilet, not just dump it in the toilet. That doesn't winterize it right. But that leaves this thing full of water still. And so I use my shop vac, take the cover off. Now, if you were in the water and this valve was open, water would come gushing out of this. You gotta make sure you close your seacocks. But you take that cover off. I shoved the hose down in there and sucked all the water out of that. Forgot to put the strainer back in. I will dump some antifreeze in there when I do the winterization, just to make sure that that's all winterized as well. There's another one of these strainers here, but this one's going to get used tomorrow. This is for the engine water intake. So tomorrow, after I haul out, I got to motor over to the lift where they lift the boat out of the water, and then when I'm sitting on the hard, then I will take care of this one. I wanted to do this one today because I could use my shop vac on that pretty easily. So every other year I change the engine oil on Tally-Ho. This is the off year, so I am not going to change it. And to be honest, although I sailed a lot, I did not motor a lot this year. So I'm not gonna do the engine oil change this year. That's typical for me every other year. I also had to take my air conditioner out of here. It used to be sitting right there. And the exhaust hose went out this port light, so I've taken that out. That's the exhaust hose there. I kind of debated about hauling out this afternoon. I talked to the marina guy about that. And it wasn't so bad this morning. Now, right now it's not bad. I could have probably done it, but they had another thing scheduled, and I decided just to take my time, get as much done today as possible. Tomorrow I'll haul out at 11, and then that gives me the next couple of days to finish. I still have to cover it and do some other winterization, but today I'll get most of it done, most of the stuff that can be done. Tomorrow will be haul out, and depending on the weather and all that jazz, I will try to maybe get the boat covered and all that stuff. So it's going all right. As you can see, though, things are messy when you're trying to get ready to haul out. I still have a lot of stuff to put on the boat, but I've also taken a couple loads of stuff and put it in my car, including my mainsail is in the car. I took the jib home already, so that one's taken care of. But anyway, so we're going to have a little bit more, but we're going to move on to hooking up the antifreeze bucket to run through the potable water. So essentially what I'm going to do there is I have a little bit of a piping pigtail that I hook onto this one, so it's extended enough that I can put a gallon of antifreeze out here, turn the water pump on, and run it through all the faucets and the water pump and all that jazz. So we'll get that set up next. All right, so these are my two little pigtails that I use. I have to thank a previous boat owner for these. So one of them has a threaded end on it, and this connects to the water system piping. And this one just has a hose barb on it, so I use this one to extend the engine cooling intake line as well as the toilet intake. We're going to start with the water system one, thread it onto that fitting that I showed you down there, and that'll make it long enough for us to put the end of it in some bucket of antifreeze. A couple other things that are important when I drain the water heater. Again, thanks to some previous owner of Tally Ho, they put a water heater bypass plumbing in place. So I turned 3 valves back in that cave back there, and that essentially bypasses the water heater. So the water lines will still be active. It just will not put water into any antifreeze into the water heater. It's a 6-gallon water heater, so you really don't want to fill it full of antifreeze. So it bypasses that and makes it a lot faster and easier for me to winterize the water system. So I'm going to turn the water pressure on, and you'll watch it'll start sucking up because the hoses and everything are empty right now. The water pump's essentially empty. So it's going to start sucking up antifreeze. As soon as I turn that thing on, it starts sucking. Now, it hasn't really gone too far. It's going to the pump. But then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to crack open the valve, or the sink valve, and I'm going to kind of do it in the middle, hot and cold, so warm water, which means it'll push this stuff through both the hot and cold system, but again, bypassing the water heater itself. So we're looking for that nice pink color. Remember, I have 2 sinks, the kitchen sink and this back sink. So we're going to turn this one on as well. Looks pretty pink to me. And we'll put a little bit more through here, and then we'll be done. See if I can get the last little bit out of there. Air in the system isn't necessarily a bad thing. Some people even try to blow out their water lines completely with air and then not put any antifreeze in there. I'm just not comfortable with that idea. If you do have any low spots and air is stuck, or water is stuck in that line, it will freeze, at least here in the Chicago area. So anyway, so that we've now done the potable water system is done. Next up, we're going to winterize the toilet. All right, so in here, what we have to do is we have to loosen up these hose clamps enough to get the clamp slid off of the hose barb. There could be a little bit of water in here just because the hose might have water in it, but that's no biggie. Okay, and then once we have that off, this is where our little pigtail with the hose barb comes into play. So I'm just going to put these two together. I'm going to put the camera down for a second. Doesn't have to be on there that hard, and it doesn't have to be clamped, because all we're going to do is put this thing in a thing of antifreeze and then pump the toilet. Now, the problem with showing you this is I have to pump the toilet from another room, from the head. So I'm going to go show you the toilet pump first, I guess, and maybe if I can figure out a way to put the camera in here while I'm pumping, I'll show you how it works. A marine toilet has two settings, flush, or wet, sometimes it says, and dry, which means pump everything out of here. So I've switched it to flush, which means right now it would normally be sucking water out of the lake. But because I have it in a bucket of antifreeze, it's actually pulling that antifreeze through the pump system, through the bowl system, which is very important. If you just dumped antifreeze in the bowl and pumped it out, it would not winterize your toilet properly. So this does the entire system. And that's really about all we have to do. Let's see how much we've pumped through there already. Yeah, probably a little over half. So I think that's going to be good enough for that. We'll hang on to this half of the antifreeze for another project. Okay, so that is done. Now the last thing I'm going to do, but I'm going to wait until after the boat's out of the water. When we're sitting on the hard and I'm winterizing the engine, I will take this cap off. I will open this valve here, and I will pour antifreeze in and try to get it to flow this way into and through that valve. Either way, I'm going to leave that valve open when we're sitting in, on the hard for storage. And the same thing with the engine intake as well. That way, if there's any water, there won't be any water trapped at the valve that could freeze. Okay, so water system and toilet are complete. Now, we can't do the engine today, so we're going to have to wait on that. Something else I should mention is that I've already taken my lithium ion phosphate batteries out of the boat this morning. I'm not going to store those on the boat like I would a lead acid battery. This will be my first winter with them. I'm really just not sure that I want to leave them out here off a charger for as long as I'm in Florida. So I took them out. Now the only reason I could do that is because I still have my lead acid starter battery on the boat, and I have hooked up my house distribution panel to that battery. So it will start the boat, and for right now I'm using it because I need to do things like have the water pressure on when I'm pumping water through the system and things like that. I will not have any load on it when I leave today, and it is on a charger, so it's holding at 13 volts, so that's all fine and dandy. But just be aware, I took off the LFP batteries to take home today, and I've essentially just used my 12-volt starter battery as my house and starter for today and tomorrow only, and it'll be on shore power tonight. It'll be fine for tomorrow. So just wanted to point that out as well. I've owned Tally Ho for over 10 years, and I winterize it myself every year, so I'm getting pretty good at it. It's not really all that difficult. But you do have to think through a few things. I do have a checklist that I go through just to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. In the past, I've used about 6 gallons of antifreeze. This year, I'm going to probably use 4.5. I don't know that I really need all that much. I put 2 through the engine because that's the most critical thing I don't want to freeze. I put 1 through the water system that you saw today. I put a little more than half a gallon through the toilet today, which you saw. And then I will put some in the bilge when I am done and ready to, turn the lights off and leave Tally Ho for the next 6 months, just because if I get water in the bilge, I don't want it to freeze and crack the fiberglass. Last year I came and checked on the boat probably in November, December, and there was ice in there. And the bilge was dry when I left her, but which is why I guess I didn't put anything in there. But the deck leaks. You know, there's always ways for water to get in here, and so I will put antifreeze in the bilge just so that it'll dilute or mix with the water if any gets in the boat and keep it from freezing hard. It'll turn slushy, but it won't freeze hard enough to break fiberglass. So part of the reason I'm taking the HumSync batteries home is a guy that watched my channel and saw me talking about batteries. His name is Chuck, so a shout out to Chuck. He sent me a battery capacity tester for free, so thank you, Chuck, for that. It's a really nice one, and I'm going to use it to test the capacity of the two HumSync batteries. So I'm going to take them home and try to get the test done before I head off to Florida. And Chuck and I have been working on a few electrical things and trying to understand a few things about how these batteries work in parallel, how they work on a boat. Chuck's not a boater, but he's a battery guy, and really appreciate his comments and his help and his generosity in sending me a capacity tester so we can test these HumSync batteries and see just how much capacity I'm getting out of a 100 amp hour battery. So thanks again, Chuck. Appreciate it. This is why checklists are important. Going through mine, I realized I hadn't emptied out the fridge yet completely. So I had some beer and water in there. So and there was also some water in there, basically from the freezer compartment defrosting. So I've drained that out as best I can, and then I usually just put a little bit of antifreeze in there to get down into that hose, that drain hose, because I don't want it to freeze up either. Well, I think we're going to call it quits out here at the marina. It's 20 to 2. I've got a car full of stuff, including a mainsail that still has all the battens in it, and so I got to go home and unload that stuff, fold up the mainsail, and all that kind of stuff. So I think we'll call it quits here for today. We're going to turn off all the systems. We really don't need anything on while we're gone, except we'll leave the battery charger on. Oops, sorry about that. Get a close-up view you didn't want. We'll leave the battery charger on. That circuit is for the lead acid battery charger, so we'll leave that one on. And yeah, it's really not much else we need to leave on while we're gone today. Tomorrow we'll be bringing the big cover for the boat. It's in 3 different sections. It zips together. It's not too bad to deal with that. We'll bring a ladder out so that we can get up on the boat once she's sitting in the parking lot on jack stands. Some extension cords. If we're lucky, we might be able to plug into a 110 outlet and at least have the ability to use the shop vac tomorrow after we do the engine winterization and things like that. So power cords and that kind of stuff for tomorrow. And we'll leave Tally Ho here to take a nap until tomorrow.